Today we will be solving real-world problems using proportions. Before we jump into proportions, we have to talk about rates. A rate is where you compare two different items or objects. In our first example, we're talking about a train traveling 225 miles in 3 hours. So we're comparing miles to hours. And the way that we write this as a rate is we write 225 miles over 3 hours. I would like you to pause the video and write the next two situations as a rate. Now check your answer. For the second one, you should have written 8 miles over 3 hours. For the third one, 200 inches over 1 year. Now we're going to look at proportions. Proportions are simply two rates that are equal to each other. So in our first example here, it says that if 2 pounds of turkey, so I've got 2 pounds, cost $1.98, so I'm comparing pounds to money, what should 25 pounds cost? So I'm trying to find the cost of 25 pounds. So I'm going to set up my first rate, 2 pounds over $1.98. And then I'm going to set up my second rate. Since I had pounds first for this rate, I have to match it up over here and do pounds first for this rate. And I put it over x because we do not know what the cost is, so I'm substituting x in the place of the cost. Now to solve a proportion, if you remember from last year, we do our means times our means and our extremes times our extremes. I always like to pick where the x is first. So I'm going to take the x times the 2 pounds, and then I'm going to multiply the 25 pounds by $1.98. And you can do this in your calculator with me. So I've got 2 times x, and I simply write 2x, 25 times $1.98. Put that in your calculator and see what you get. You should get 2x is equal to 49.5. But remember, I don't want to know 2 x's, I just want to find the 1x. So since I'm multiplying 2 by x, and that equals to the 49.5, I want to do the opposite, and I want to divide both sides by 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I put a big long 1 through them, so that leaves me with 1x on this side. And 49.5 divided by 2, stick that in your calculator, and you get x equals 24.75. But remember, I have to answer my question. It wants to know what should 25 pounds cost. So I need to turn this number into a cost. 25 pounds should cost $24.75. Please be sure to write all that down. If you need to, pause the video. Now we're going to solve the second example together. It says Tim and his family are planning a trip to California. They plan to travel 750 miles every 4 days. So I'm comparing miles to days. It wants to know how many days will it take them to travel 4,125 miles. So again, I'm going to set up a proportion because I have two rates. So my first rate is 750 miles over the 4 days. And then I have the 4,125 miles. I have to put that on top. Miles over days, miles over days. And x is on the bottom for days. And now I want to multiply my means times my means So 750 times x, and then I'm going to multiply my extremes times my extremes. And I always do the one with the x first. So sometimes I might do my extremes times my extremes if I'm missing an extreme. So I've got 750 times x, we write that as 750x, 4 times 4,125. And remember, it doesn't matter if you write the 4 first or the 4,125 first, because when we multiply, order doesn't matter there. And I get 750x equals 16,500. Now I don't want to know what 750x is, I want to know what just x is. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And I'm going to divide both sides by 750. Stick that in your calculator. Remember, 750 divided by 750 is 1, so they cancel out. I'm left with just x. 16,500 divided by 750, put that in your calculator, and you should get x equals 22. But remember, I need to answer my questions. How many days will it take them to travel? It will take them 22 days to travel 4,125 miles. Oh, I forgot the word miles. Now I would like for you to try the next two on your own. So pause the video and solve the next two problems the same way by setting up a proportion and multiplying your means times your means and your extremes times your extremes. Now that you have finished, I'd like for you to check your answers. Here is the first example. Pause it if you need to. And here is the second example. Pause it if you need to.